This video is brought to you by Granger Warranty, your #1 online source for factory-backed extended warranties in the country.
But he's pulling ahead on me.
Oh no, this is close. I am a crazy wolf.
That was pretty good, Andre.
Guys, we have a pretty fun video for you right now because we have two trucks, two Ford Mavericks that have about $6,000 between them, but how different are they?
Especially because that is the Maverick Lobo, the performance version, and some people, Roman included, says that Lobo's not even any faster than our hybrid, but I'm not sure that's true.
Well, let's compare them. Let's do a drag race 0 to 60. Let's do a little bit of a performance test, but also see option for option. You know, what are you missing, or maybe what am I missing?
Let's get into it.
So dude, what do you have under the hood of this eruption green Maverick?
I'll have you know that this is the big block Maverick. This is a 2.5 liter naturally aspirated 4-cylinder paired to a hybrid system, 191 horsepower.
Big block, huh?
Yeah, big block.
Interesting.
And it's got a planetary style CVT, so maybe not the most exciting transmission in the world. They also don't give a combined torque rating. On some spec sheets they say 155, but that's not including the hybrid system itself. And that hybrid system makes a big difference up here at altitude.
Yeah, and I think the worst economy we've seen from this particular truck when we were testing it was about 30 mpg in the winter, and the best we've seen was 46 mpg when Mary daily drove this.
That's true, and because this is one of the new Mavericks, updated, this hybrid system is paired to all-wheel drive, which you couldn't get when they initially came out. That makes this a pretty useful machine. Andre, what are we working with here? I know it's a small block, it's only a 2 liter.
Oh, come on, dude.
Just
2
saying.
liters have been in performance vehicles across decades of time.
Right.
And it is here, it's turbocharged, it's an EcoBoost. And there is a little bit of confusion about how much power rating it has, right? Because for 2025, just like many other vehicles, the emissions regulations are changing a little bit. So the latest numbers we have is 238 horsepower, which is way more than that hybrid.
That's true, that is a lot more.
And the torque numbers, we can't compare, you know, apples to apples, but this is anywhere between 268 and about 277 pound-feet of torque.
Yeah, so it's quite a bit more powerful, and you have a 7-speed automatic rather than a CVT like what this has.
Yeah, and the transmission is a little bit strange because other Mavericks have an 8-speed combined with this 2-liter turbo.
Yeah.
But because this is a Lobo, this is a unique transmission where they removed one of the gears. The second gear is now gone.
Yeah.
So,
and also all-wheel drive with the same rear differential that you get in the Tremor, but tuned less for off-road and more for street driving.
for traction, perfect traction.
All right, Kase, so this is the main event.
That's right, this is what we've been waiting for, because I've heard whispers that the Lobo isn't actually any faster than a regular Maverick, even this hybrid, but I have a hard time believing that.
Well, I'll have you know that I've switched myself, or this truck, into crazy Lobo mode.
Pretty good, Andre. I've gone into sport mode, and it's maybe a little ambitious. I did go traction control off. I'm not sure that's going to make a big difference. I'd be surprised if we're breaking traction.
Well, my local Lobo, it says already traction control disabled in this mode, track use only, and we are at a closed track.
That is very true. It's also worth mentioning that because this Maverick is a hybrid and because we're over a mile above sea level, there is going to be a net benefit to this truck versus what it would have down at sea level, where comparatively your Maverick would do a little bit better.
But I have turbo power, my friend.
That's true, and the turbo helps make up for our thin atmosphere just a little bit. So this is going to be an interesting race.
I'm excited to see that Lobo do its thing. I actually kind of hope you win this.
I'm confident. I'm ready. I'm brake torquing it.
The other kind of cool thing is that both these trucks weigh the exact same amount.
Yeah, that never happens to us until now. All right, I'm ready. I've got my 7-speed automatic. Yes, 7-speed.
Let's go, Maverick Hybrid, come on!
Good takeoff.
We're neck and neck.
That was 6,500 RPM. Oh no. This is close.
This is not a fast race. I'm staying right here with them.
Come on. I have more top end power. Bring it on.
God, this is so slow. But he's pulling away from me.
Yes.
Good job, Lobo. I'm pretty happy about that. Very nice. I'm kind of rooting against myself, but I promise I'm pushing the pedal all the way. That was not the fastest quarter mile we've ever had down this track, was it?
Well, at least my transmission wasn't droning and moaning like yours probably was.
That's true. It was droning, and it was droning for just under 16 seconds. The Maverick Hybrid, our trusty vehicle, did a 15.98 in the quarter mile.
All right, so my quarter mile, and by the way, we are at a mile above sea level here in Fort Collins. My quarter mile is 15.74, so I beat you by like, what, 2/10? My 0 to 60 is 777.
Yeah, mine is 7.88, so these are not incredibly fast trucks. But the Lobo is quicker, even though we're a mile above sea level, and even though you've got about 3/4 of a tank of fuel, and I've got just under half a tank. So, all things considered, the Maverick, even at a mile above sea level, is measurably quicker. And I'm pretty happy about that, actually. Payload on our Maverick is 1,367 pounds, which is a pretty good number for a small truck. And we optioned the max tow package, so we're rated to pull 4,000 pounds. We've pulled 4,000 pounds with this truck. It does it pretty convincingly. We've even got an integrated trailer brake controller to make things easy.
Well, I have some bad news here in the Lobo. The payload rating on this particular model is 1,016 pounds, which is quite a bit lower than that hybrid all-wheel drive. And also, maximum towing capacity on a Lobo is 2,000 pounds. Yes, you can maybe bring your hobby cat to the lake, maybe something lightweight, maybe a jet ski, but it won't tow much more than that. Also, no brake controller here. Let's face this, these pickup trucks and most vehicles are getting more expensive. That green Maverick right there is around $36,000. This Maverick Lobo is around $42,000. And if you want to protect your big investment for the long haul, check out our friends at GrangerWarranty.com. Just use the link in the description below and you can get covered for the long haul. You can save some money and you can be sure that when something is wrong with your vehicle, powertrain, electronics, etc., they use factory certified OEM parts and they use certified installers and mechanics to fix your vehicle.
Our company Ford Maverick is a pretty standard truck in its appearance. The eruption green does add some style to it. It's a nice color. Got gray 17-inch wheels, but otherwise it looks pretty basic. Black cladding along the bumper, along the side skirts, and all over. It doesn't stand out tons.
The Lobo Maverick is definitely more stylish in my opinion. It has a different grille. I have premium headlamps. Pretty nice. Also, these wheels are unique to the Lobo and they're actually growing on me. Initially in some pictures I didn't quite like them, but up close this is a 19-inch wheel. It looks like an old style turbofan wheel, and these tires are Goodyear Wrangler Territory HTs in this case. This is not an off-roader of course, but actually, this bigger wheel may be a little bit heavier, which is not great for ultimate performance. But I think the style of this truck, especially with its lowered suspension, it's lowered about ½ inch up front and about 1.5 inches in the rear.
The Maverick Lobo also has a few more things that are blacked out on it. One that I really like is the Ford logo up at the front. That's all blacked out instead of the standard blue like our Maverick. And they blacked out the roof as well. Gives this a little more contrast and it looks good.
We have to do a rolling start because I really want to see the difference between this kind of performance-oriented 7-speed automatic and your planetary gear set.
That's true. These are very different transmissions, and that is a lot of what comes into play, at least at the beginning of a roll race. So let's do our traditional 30-mile-per-hour roll and see if the results are any different.
All right, my friends, so this is kind of like if a drag race is like merging off of a traffic light, this is more like a passing maneuver.
That's true. It's definitely a useful test, and it'll be interesting to see how that 7-speed in the Lobo acts, because that transmission configuration and setup
Is unique to the Lobo. All right, do you want to count us off?
Sure thing. Let's go ahead and get up to 30 miles per hour. We'll get nose to nose, and I'll count us down. So there is 30 in 3, 2, 1, go.
Go! Go, my 2-liter!
Starting to let myself push ahead a little bit, so I made things harder for Andre.
Oh, wow! This is so close!
But he's pulling ahead on me. Good job, Lobo. Pretty quick to respond.
Wow, that's like 1 truck length.
I keep saying good things about the truck I'm not driving. I love this hybrid, but that's the sport truck. It should be quicker.
That was like 1 truck length. Was that a slightly bigger margin or no?
You know, they're definitely pretty close to each other as far as performance. The Lobo is quicker. And when we did our 30-mile-per-hour roll, as I was counting down, I let my speed slip up a little bit, so I was a bit ahead of you when we took off, and still the Lobo managed to pull out in front. So, yeah, not a massive difference between these two, but the Lobo's quicker.
But I am a crazy wolf. Awoooo!
That was pretty good, Andre. Inside of our Maverick, there's a mix of good and bad. One thing that I love is the use of different colors, textures, and materials that makes this interior feel a little more exciting than the average economy car. You've got some gray on the dash, you've got some blue on the dash, fun textures and door cards, exposed hardware, and all of that is cool. It makes it feel a little bit more special in here, but there's a lot of cost cutting in the materials, especially with our XLT. This is a pretty base level interior, so we've got cloth seats. It does have some blue stitching and a few different colors on the seats as well, but a lot of hard plastics, nothing too fancy. Inside, we don't have a sunroof or anything. It's basic. As equipped, our Maverick does have heated seats and a heated steering wheel though, so some of the features that you want when you live in Colorado.
Now check this out. The Lobo interior is more premium, and I think this is where the price difference really starts to come into play. Let me start the engine so I can show you a little bit more detail. The material selection is similar to what you saw in that hybrid, and I like, just like Kase, different colors and combinations, including the blue into the vents. But then I do have a couple more premium options here. For example, well, this doesn't have a brake controller with this particular model, but it does have a Pro Trailer Backup Assist. So if you've never pulled a trailer, or maybe your trailer is really short, those are kind of tough to back up. And this can really help you right there. Also, look at this button. Kase does not have that. That's a power rear glass button. Kase wishes he had it over there in the hybrid. Other than that, I do have special seats here. Nice material, good stitching, yellow and blue. And there's a Lobo logo right there in the seat. So make no mistake about it. This is pretty special. I also have a sunroof as part of this particular model. So you have a couple more nice and premium features in here, including heated seats and a heated steering wheel and all the rest. And I do have a Bang & Olufsen B&O sound system right here in the Lobo. This truck being lowered, look how easy it is to reach inside the bed, dude.
That's true. It's not like it's incredibly difficult in the regular Maverick, but it's a little bit easier in here. And
Yes.
because your truck is well optioned, you've got tie-down rails, there's also lights in the bed and power to hook up to.
You know, I've heard people actually buy Maverick pickup trucks in general to carry some motorcycles. Would you agree with that? I mean, the load height is very low here.
Absolutely. We've put bikes in the back of our Maverick, and it does make it easier that it's not super high up off the ground. So I like it for moving bikes.
Nice. Can you believe that, dude? I got 777s in the 0 to 60. I should go to Vegas.
Yeah, It's maybe a lucky number, but not the fastest number in the world. We've seen faster times here. We are a mile above sea level, so that has some impact. But it kind of makes sense, right, Andre? The Lobo has quite a bit more power than our hybrid.
Yeah.
So you would expect it to be faster, and it was.
Yeah, but it is more expensive. So if I look at two trucks side by side like we are now, the Lobo does cost about $6,000 more. They both have similar interiors, similar options on the inside, but the hybrid has a little bit more towing and a little bit more payload. And I think that's where my money will go. Hybrid for me.
That's true. The hybrid is a more useful truck, but if I was trying to go for maximum payload or towing, probably get something a little bigger than either of these. And yeah, $6,000 is not nothing, but when you're already spending 40, I love that Lobo. I think it looks really cool. I think it's way more fun to drive. It doesn't have that drone of the transmission. I would go for the Lobo. That's a cool truck.
Well, let us know which one would you buy? A little bit more practical hybrid, a little bit better efficiency, or the coolness of the Lobo?
I'm wildly impractical, so I know which one I'd get. But let us know. That's all for this video. We'll see you next time.